Thank you for watching us on YouTube. But did you know that if you're on the go, you can get the full show as a podcast now? You can get our morning breakdown of the most important topics facing our country, news not being covered by the mainstream media, interviews with change-making progressives, and info on what you can actually do about all this. Search for The Damage Report on your favorite podcast app and subscribe so you know when new episodes are ready to go. So our hope is that after this midterm election, the Congress and possibly even the Senate will look very different and will turn in a new direction. But that's not gonna happen without people getting involved and organizations getting involved. And we're very lucky now to be joined by Swing Left Senior Advisor Emily Tish Sussman, who's gonna talk to us a little bit about that process. Emily, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Very glad to have you here. So you are part of this organization. You have a program going on attempting to change the composition of the Congress. Tell us about that.
Yeah, the last weekend, it's a great rebranding of something that's always happened on campaigns. I'm sure a lot of your viewers are familiar with the concept of GOTV, getting out the last weekend, and really volunteering, knocking on doors, making calls. The reality is that we feel like our country is going crazy in a lot of ways under this administration, but we need to ensure that we actually get every single vote, every person who is eligible to vote actually knows that the election is coming, the days, the parameters, can they vote? And the best way to do that is still person to person. In some ways, we live in an age where we think that like everything lives online, and maybe that's because our president tweets his policies online. But the reality is that person to person is the way to do it. It's the way to get to people. And we can't just rely on hoping that people are going to talk to their friends and neighbors, which of course we hope that they do. But it turns out that friends and neighbors of congressional districts are a very real thing here. The majority of districts that are swingable, that are the congressional districts I'm talking about, that are able to be moved from Republican to Democrat this year are actually in a very close driving proximity to districts that are solidly blue. So what we're doing with Swing Left in the last weekend is a coalition of over 50 organizations talking to their people that are in districts that are more solidly blue, saying, hey, get out there. You know you're going to vote already. Maybe you've already voted an early vote or absentee vote by mail. Spend this last weekend going out to your neighboring districts, knocking on doors and ensuring that everyone is planning to vote in the districts, and we can really swing them this year.
So as you're talking, we have up one of the videos from the last weekend. I saw Rashida Jones talking about that historically in midterm elections, voter participation goes down. It's already low for young voters, but even lower in the midterms. So in terms of this particular election, you're talking about going out there, talking one-on-one, personal contact with these people. What are you trying to focus on in terms of this election that you think is going to break through that normal process? And what issues are those voters apparently being energized the most about or around?
Yeah, look, young voting in midterm elections is abysmally low, like pathetically low. We know that we need to do better as a generation already getting out there, but midterm elections, it's just not something that ends up on people's radars. They have so much going on. So it is so highly dependent on their friends to tap into them and say, hey, did you register to vote? Are you sure that you're registered at your current address? Do you know where your polling place is? It is so important on people talking to their friends that way. I mean, this year, honestly, like it's hard to say what is the top issue because it feels like everything is the issue. Like any issue that you really care about is under attack. If it's your own healthcare, if it's your community being deported, if it's the fabric of our democracy. This week, today, is insane. This Supreme Court nominee is unbelievable. And Republicans are saying we basically don't care that he assaulted a woman in his teens and probably two others and maybe more. Yeah. They're gonna go ahead with the vote anyway. We've actually traditionally seen courts as a motivating factor, much higher on the conservative side and Republican side than it has been as a factor for Democrats to turn out. I think that's going to be one of the biggest surprises of this cycle, that the issue of courts and the Supreme Court in particular is going to be a very big motivating factor on the Democratic side in a way that it hasn't traditionally been in midterms or in elections at all.
So I want to provide one more bit of motivation for people who, there's probably not a lot of people who watch this show every day and are not interested in voting, they just don't really care. But there might be a few, hypothetically. So we have had the experience in the past couple of years of an election night that did not go the way that we either wanted or thought that it would. So here's a hypothetical for you. So we get to this midterm election. It turns out the blue wave runs up against a red wall and voter suppression, gerrymandering, all of that. They maintain control of the Senate, they maintain control of the House. What are the stakes in this case? What do you see happening if people don't get out there and the Republicans have as much power the day after the election as they do the day before?
That is one of the scariest thoughts to me. It's free reign. It's everything we've seen come from this administration that has come through regulation they've done from the administrative branch will actually be codified through law, through Congress, and will be upheld by their hand-picked Supreme Court. It really scares me. Honestly, one of the things that does scare me at this point is that the media narrative has set the bar so high for what a blue wave is going to be that there's a little bit of complacency in it.
Yeah.
That people aren't actually checking their own registration and they're not actually ensuring that they're getting out to volunteer. So if this has scared you in any way, please visit The Last Weekend. Please put those shifts in. I can't plug thelastweekend.org enough. I look forward to seeing you all in the field, but honestly, because the stakes are incredibly high. Really, in every issue, in every area that we care about, we've seen a stronger attack on those areas than we had even contemplated going into this cycle.
Well, hopefully that hypothetical was just a thought experiment and not a look at the future. Emily Tush Sussman, Senior Advisor for Swing Left, thank you for joining the Damage Report.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for watching this clip from the Damage Report. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and ring the bell on YouTube to get notifications of our new videos. And of course, you can catch the full Damage Report live every weekday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific on TYT Network on YouTube TV.